Mr. Bermeister, thank you for agreeing to do this interview for Shishi and Tikara Shabbat.
You're welcome.
I guess that many Haredi Jews in Jerusalem ask themselves when Leonardo Inn is going to be a Glad Kosher hotel. So is there any plans to make it Glad Kosher?
You know, we acquired this hotel a week ago. Currently the Herrscher is Rabbanut. We're looking at all of the issues related to the hotel and the communities that we wish to service at this hotel. Certainly our interests are in improving the Kedusha here at the hotel, and we will really spend time doing that. I recently acquired a Sefer Torah for the hotel. We will improve the mezuzot in all of the rooms in the hotel. They haven't been changed for many years, or inspected for many years.
You're involved and encouraged also in buying lands from Arabs. Wouldn't it be more worthwhile to invest in lands that will stay in Israel's hands than in lands that may be given to the hands of the Arabs sometime in the future?
It's true that I'm interested in also acquiring land which is in Arab hands, and most importantly I'm interested in acquiring land and working the land. In other words, the idea of buying land is not just to buy land and hold the land and make an avodah zarah out of the land. Okay, it's to work the land, to make it productive. This is why we're given this land, and in Jerusalem we have to build on the land, and we have to make it produce for us and produce opportunities for people in Jerusalem who presently don't have all of the opportunities available to them, and as a result are suffering in poverty and all sorts of conditions that the land can provide for if we develop it.
But Jerusalem has also very big social problems.
Correct.
As the gap between the secular Republic of Jerusalem and the Orthodox one. Do you have any solutions in mind for these problems, social problems in Jerusalem?
Look, they're complicated problems. I mean, I think that many of the problems are complicated by poverty. Okay, poverty is a terribly distractive and really creates all sorts of social conditions. The most important issue is to resolve the problems of the poor. Of course, there are within the poor there are different groups, and one has to focus on dealing with each of their needs and their necessities and their heritage and cultural needs and their beliefs and their practices, and we need to encourage culture.
Do you have any ideas in mind in investing directly in employment, in education and employment in the ultra-Orthodox community in Jerusalem?
I had spent a lot of time with various rabbinical groups, including Haredim, and really I'm trying to understand over 7 or 8 years the various sensitivities. And it became apparent to me that the motivation and inspiration for the communities had to come from the leaders, and that ultimately if Binyan Yerushalayim was seen by the communities as being a worthy cause, then the Rabbonim ought to motivate their kahila to engage in work in supporting Binyan Yerushalayim. And the unskilled labor that is available through tourism is the biggest footprint of labor in any industry. And there are many opportunities to train people and to teach people skills, to learn new skills in tourism, whether it be in administrative or food or services or financial or taxi or whatever the category of work is. There are many opportunities for many different people.
We spoke about the gaps between the Haredi community and the secular community in Jerusalem. And one of the main struggles between the communities is about what Jerusalem represents.
My view is as follows. Jerusalem is a Jewish city. Historically, it's been a Jewish city. The most productive time in history in the history of Jerusalem, the time when prosperity was felt by the citizens to the greatest degree, was really the time of the first Beit HaMikdash, the time of Shlomo Melech, where truly Jerusalem was the center of the world. Unfortunately, this period only lasted for a very small time. But during that time, the city was really in its optimal state. It was in a state of holiness. It attracted people who came here for that spiritual reason. 3 times a year, Yidden, Goyim, anybody was permitted to come to the Kohen Gadol and to the Levim and to ask to provide a sacrifice to Hashem. This was the most beautiful time in this city. Since then, of course, there have been many periods in which corruption has been rampant, and of course during the times of Herod, the Herodian period, and the temple, the second temple, corruption ran rife. I think we have to go back to the times of Shlomo Melech, to that model. Now, we can't just reverse time. It's not possible. We're in a very different world today than we were then. But the Beit HaMikdash represents a certain completion of our culture, a certain representation of our culture, an ability for us to truly bring blessings into the world, for us to be a light to the nations. And I think that we must do our job as Jews. We must perform to bring more blessings into the world. We need to do that job for the nations of the world, and they need to encourage us to do that job. And so that's the purpose of this city, and we need to fulfill that purpose.
So you said in the past that you want to build the third temple in Jerusalem. First of all, what is your connection to the third temple? What is your motivation to build the third temple?
There was a report that misquoted,
okay.
But I've never said those words. The 5800 planning that we have been busy with for the past 2 years, which is essentially a plan for all of Jerusalem, considers many aspects, but principally is based on growth in tourism, improvements in the economy, and the preparation of the city for, please God, one day there will be an event of the building of the temple, and the city must be ready for such an event. Under those circumstances, it's true that one of my objectives and the thinking behind some of the motivation and inspiration that I have obtained is ultimately related to our Jewish heritage, our culture, our yearning for 2,000 years for the return of the temple. But not only that, also what the temple means in Gashmiut, in real material terms. Not only what it means in spiritual terms, but also what it means in material terms. It really represents a crowning of the completion of the city, and at that point Jerusalem will be in its optimum state and will be performing economically and financially for its people like never before.